We're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
Off we go on a Tuesday morning. This, of course, is The Jake Asman Show. Number to call to get involved this morning, 800-224-2004. That's 800-224-2004. And, of course, you can interact with us on Twitter. I'm there at Jake Asman. That's JakeAsman. 2 days away from the NFL draft. Cleveland, Ohio is where it all unfolds. Everyone's talking about the Niners at 3 because it's a foregone conclusion what's happening at 1 with Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville, and certainly at 2 with the Jets taking Zach Wilson. But if you really think about this draft, there's probably not a team. In fact, there is not a team that has more pressure on them to get it right than the Jets coming up starting Thursday. And you have to think big picture when you talk about the Jets here. Because when they go Zach Wilson at 2, that was a debate for a while, but since the Darnold trades happened and we've known for so long that the Jets are definitely taking Zach Wilson, the national focus has shifted to the Niners. But the Jets have the most pressure on them in this draft. They have the longest playoff drought in the NFL. They're going with a rookie quarterback. 3 years ago yesterday, they used the 3rd overall pick on Sam Darnold. So they're starting completely over once again on Thursday. Now, it's the right move. I'm not going to argue that. I was a big proponent on moving on from Darnold and drafting Wilson. But the reality is they got to be right. And it's not just Wilson. Joe Douglas, the Jets GM, has picks number 2, number 23, 34, 66, and 86 this year. That's 5 picks in the top 100, 10 total picks in the draft class. More picks than any team over the next 2 years. But this is the year you got to get it right. If Zach Wilson busts, the Jets are in the same spot they were with Sam Darnold. See, if the Jets at the first pick, picking number 1's easy. There's no real debate. You take Trevor Lawrence. No one could kill the Jets if they took Trevor Lawrence. But taking Zach Wilson, the risk is there because you're now comparing Zach Wilson to the other 3 guys in this class you could have had. That'd be Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. And in addition to comparing Zach Wilson to those guys, you're also comparing him to whatever Sam Darnold ends up being with the Panthers. So I like Joe Douglas. I've been very outspoken on Joe Douglas, and I think that he's a smart football guy. I loved his first draft overall. He got to pick his head coach in Robert Saleh, which is the right way to go about it. Saleh reports to Douglas. The power structure is in line. Signs are pointing in the right direction for the Jets. But now they got to get it right. Like, it's easy for me to have all this confidence in Joe Douglas. He hasn't had to make these picks yet. He's got to get it right starting Thursday. Once again, the Jets have the longest playoff drought in the NFL. 10 years. Last time the Jets were in the playoffs, they were nearly coming from behind in the AFC Championship game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is a Jets team that won 2 games last year. The bar is set low. But when you go with a rookie quarterback, you are now not paying that rookie quarterback for 5 seasons. This is the time to surround him in a car that could drive, right? Put him in a car that could drive, as Willie Colon said on our show a couple of weeks ago. Picking number 1's easy. You take Trevor Lawrence. The debate's at 2. Douglas made the answer moving on from Sam and going with Wilson here. He better be right. There's more pressure on the Jets to get this right than I think any other team that's picking a quarterback. You could argue, well, the Niners gave up a fortune to move up. But you know what? The Niners have been to a Super Bowl within the last 2 years. Kyle Shanahan's proven that he's an outstanding coach. Like, the guy was winning games with Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard. He was competitive with those players. Kyle Shanahan probably thinks he can win with whoever at quarterback. The Jets haven't proven that. We don't know. You know, the Jaguars have pressure to build around Lawrence, but they're getting the blue chip generational prospect. Falcons obviously have pressure to make the right decision at 4. If it's go quarterback, trade out, or take Pitts or somebody else, there's pressure there. You could argue Belichick's got pressure in New England to solve their quarterback issue, but you know what? He's Bill Belichick. He could walk away tomorrow. He's the greatest coach of all time. The Jets got the most pressure out of any team here. They made all these deals to get extra picks. Leonard Williams, Sam Darnold, and obviously fleecing Seattle for Jamal Adams. It's only a fleecing if they end up hitting on the picks. Pick 23, it's obviously not as important as pick number 2, but that is incredibly significant in how the Jets turn things around. They can turn 23 into an impact player. A stud offensive lineman, a big play wide receiver, a cornerback. That's how you turn things around. You hit on your draft picks. This was Joe Douglas a couple weeks ago when asked about his draft philosophy, given the fact the Jets now have 21 total picks over the next 2 years.
What we're positioned to, and obviously we have a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different rabbit holes we can go down. Not to get so much into a hypothetical question, but I just go back to the same thing I said to Rich when he asked about our philosophy. Ultimately, for us to get to where the great teams are, the most consistent teams are, you do that through the draft, and it's the most player friendly or it's most team friendly market in sports. And so for us to really be that team that's consistently competing for Super Bowls, we have to hit on our draft picks.
He's right. They better hit on their draft picks. See, some GMs say they want to build through the draft, and then they don't actually mean that because they make trades. They're moving and grooving. Like Seattle Seahawks can't say they're building through the draft. They got 3 picks. Like some teams say they like to build through the draft. There's other teams that actually try. No team has been more true to their word on trying to build through the draft than the Jets. But here's the thing. Every fan loves to hear that. Hey, you got to hit on the picks. That's what it comes down to for the Jets. The reason why the Jets have missed the playoffs for the last 10 years is because they have had some of the worst drafts in the history of football. And that's not hyperbole. Go look at the drafts that John Izek had in his disastrous 2 years as Jets GM, and then go look at the last 4 drafts that Mike McCagnon had. Every single pick outside of maybe like 3 I could think of have been colossal busts. They've either been traded away or they're not even on NFL teams. I mean, the Jets used a 2nd-round pick on a quarterback that never played a single snap in the NFL. Think about that. Mike McCagnon drafted Christian Hackenberg. He never played a single snap in the National Football League. 2nd-round pick. You know how hard that is? A 2nd-round pick's a guy that should be a starter for you day one. Or if he's a quarterback, he's getting on the field at some point in the near future. He didn't play a single snap. Then he follows that up the following season by taking Ja'Kai Polite out of Florida, a defensive end, 3rd-round pick. They cut him in training camp. The guy did not even make it to week 1 of his rookie year. He was a 3rd-round pick. Those are 2 examples from the Mike McCagnon era of drafting. There's also taking a safety 6th overall when Deshaun Watson's on the board, when Patrick Mahomes is on the board. There's taking Darren Lee in the middle of the 1st round. What a draft that was. 2016, Darren Lee and Christian Hackenberg back-to-back by the Jets. Remember a Darius Stewart? We were like, I can start going through like Chad Hansen, like any mid-round pick the Jets had to try and hit on receiver. Bust here, bust there. Jason Morrow, like a 2nd or 3rd round tight end, bust. I mean, the Jets have been a disaster in the draft. A disaster. That's why there's more pressure on Joe Douglas to get it right. More pressure on the Jets to get it right than any other team. They've been just a joke. And it's not like the Jets haven't had good drafts before. The last time the Jets had a couple really good drafts, Mike Tannenbaum was in charge with Eric Mangini. Getting Darrelle Revis in 2007, trading up for him. Go back and look at some of the drafts the Jets had in the early 2000s. 2000, they had 4 first-round picks. John Abraham, Sean Ellis, Chad Pennington, Anthony Beck. That's a great class right there. They had Lavernius Coles as a 3rd-round pick. 2006, you had Nick Mangold and DeBrickashaw Ferguson. The Jets have had good drafts before, but it's been way too long. And that's how you go 10 years in the NFL without going to the playoffs. So I'm not expecting the Jets to hit on every pick. But, I mean, my goodness. They have to get it right with their premium picks. And when you got 5 picks in the top 100, if 4 of those guys are not day one contributors, that's a problem. You're not going to hit on every pick. That's why you have as many as possible. And they have 10 and they have 10 this year, 11 next year. But man, if you're going to say you're going to build through the draft, then you got to get the picks right. That's what it comes down to. So I'm optimistic, but I've been optimistic before, and I just want to see Joe Douglas nail it. Nail this draft starting Thursday. But there's no team, I believe, in the NFL that's got more pressure than the New York Jets entering what will be an exciting first round starting Thursday night in Cleveland. 800-224-2004 is the number if you want to weigh in on the NFL draft and this topic. We'll take your calls coming up in the next segment. Plus, if you want to tweet me at Jake Asman, that's where you can find me and contribute to the show there. I have to get to what Kyle Shanahan said about Jimmy G yesterday. You kind of wonder if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, what should he do first? Request a trade, or as my buddy Alex Barth put it on Twitter, enter witness protection. We'll talk about the comments that Shanahan made on Jimmy G in the next segment, plus your calls. We're coming right back. Jake Asman with you here on a Tuesday morning. This is the Jake Asman Show on Sports Map Radio.
The middle.
But I also